Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me today on the Pixie Dust Designs YouTube channel. This is the Lilly die. This is part of the newest release, or the May release, and this is a really beautiful layering die, or not. You can layer it or you can choose not to layer it. So it also comes with the words thinking of you, and I've already gone ahead and cut all my pieces apart. I keep them in this little container while I'm working so I don't lose any of those little die pieces. And I'm just going to go over the different dies that are included in this die set. So you've got the stem, and then you've got three parts for the flower. You've got this solid portion, which is the bottom portion, or you can use it as a standalone. And then you've got the decorative portions, which are these two sets of petals. And then you've got an extra petal. And then for the center of the flower, there are two dies. And I do not know the parts of the flower, so I think the middle is called the stamen, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly from school. So you've got two parts for that. And the multiple parts is to help with the coloring and add that extra dimension as well. And then you've got two leaves. These go on top of the stem piece. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together. And the one I'm putting together today, I am just putting it together flat, and I am coloring it all at once. But you can color separately. You can also add foam in between the different layers to add a lot of really cool dimension. But these are really simple to put together. So I've got my solid base piece, and then I'm taking the first set of the decorative petals, and I'm just lining that up with the base. And I'm using a lot of adhesive because I will be doing watercoloring for this, and I wanted to make sure that with the water that's going to be on it, that it would stay together really well. I'm also using watercolor paper since I am watercoloring. So it's a little bit thicker, but I had no issues at all. These dies cut really beautifully. And then I'll go ahead and put that third layer on. And I'm going to leave the middle portion out as well as that extra petal until after I finish coloring. And then there are those two additional leaves that you just layer on top of the matching leaf from that stem piece. And these look great when you add a little bit of foam to the back. Like I said, this card's going to be glued or adhered flat to the pieces, because I am going to do some watercoloring and I'm just adding it all at once. But I will have some cards on Instagram and then my channel as well using this die set where I'm going to be adding some dimension. And so I'm using some Prima watercolors today. I'm just going to take my brush and add a little bit of water to all of my pieces and then get started on the watercoloring. Start out with a lighter color, kind of like a peachy or tan peach color. And then while that is still wet, I will add some more color using this really pretty, I don't know if this is a maroon, I don't know what you would call this, but this is one of my favorite colors from this set. And so I'll just add some color to my brush and kind of paint that on a little bit and let the water move the color a little bit as well. And then once that's done, I'm going to grab that extra petal and color that pretty much the same two colors using that. And then for my stem, I will color using the watercolor as well. And so I believe I use several different colors of green on this. So I'm just going to color everything up, and I will set that aside to dry so that I can adhere all of the pieces together. For the middle portion, I am just going to color the ends. That's the only part that you're going to see once that center piece is adhered. And I would have colored this with a Sharpie, but I couldn't find my black Sharpie. So I'm just taking a black Copic marker, and then I'll add a little bit of liquid adhesive just to kind of that bigger portion of the middle of the flower, and then add the black piece. And then this piece will be adhered in the center of the flower. And when you're doing this, if you're going to add that extra petal, you need to have the kind of the wider petal facing down. And if you need to match that up with that extra petal, because that extra petal will only fit in that one spot. On one of the cards I made after this, I wasn't paying attention and I failed to do that, and it still turned out okay. But if you want it to match up evenly, go ahead and make sure that that fatter petal is facing down when you insert that center. So I went ahead and for this piece I added some foam as well as some liquid adhesive just to make sure that stays. And then to finish off the flower, I will add some liquid adhesive to the top of the stem so that I can adhere the flower. And that is it. I love this die. It is so awesome. You can use anything to create this, whether that is pattern paper or you know, coloring it with inks or watercolor or whatever medium you want to color it with Copics as well. Just a really fun flower that can be used in a lot of different ways for a lot of different occasions. For my background for this card, I'm going to use watercolor again, and I am just adding a little bit of color, and then I'm adding a decent amount of water and then tapping the top of the card really hard so that I can get some of those watercolor drips down the card. And then I will set that aside and let that dry, and then I'm going to mat this onto a black piece of cardstock, and then that's going to be matted onto a white piece of cardstock. And since this is watercolor paper, whenever I use watercolor paper, I like to really over adhese, I guess. So on all of my pieces, I am adding some of the tape runner, and then I will also add some liquid adhesive. It just gives it some extra hold. And when I'm doing the liquid adhesive, I always like to put it as far to the edge as I can, because if it's going to lift anywhere, it's going to lift around the edges. So if you put that adhesive as close to the edge as possible, it will make sure not to have those edges lifted any. And then I will add some liquid adhesive to the back of my flower, and I'll go ahead and add that to my card panel. The overall card panel with all of the layers is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I've used my Dymo laser label maker to create the word love, and then the sentiment is you, and that is part of the sentiment that comes in the die set, and I've just stacked that and colored it, and I will adhere that as well. And that's going to finish off my card for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did like this video, I would love it if you would give a thumbs up. Be on the lookout for lots of inspiration from the design team members using the new release. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of those videos. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you next time.